Here's what's coming up on today's show.
If you're not disrupting in this business and you're not innovating, you're not working with a firm, like a Brookstone, that's always thinking ahead, fast forward, right? That we're forward thinking and trying to stay as innovative and as ahead of the industry as possible, you're going to fail.
This is the Retire Happy podcast with John Amarino, a fiduciary financial advisor at Securus Financial in the San Diego area, and Thomas O'Connell, president of International Financial Advisory Group, Inc. in Parsippany, New Jersey. Together, they'll be keeping retirement happy from coast to coast.
Welcome back to another episode of the Retire Happy podcast. I'm your host on the West Coast, John Amarino, and I am joined by my host and great friend on the East Coast, Mr. Tom O'Connell. Tommy, how you doing?
I'm doing great. Happy New Year to everybody. Hope everybody had a great holiday. Hope 2025 is starting off on the right foot.
Absolutely. And folks, I also want to welcome you to the 100th episode of the Retire Happy podcast. January 25th, 2019, 6 years ago, I began this podcast, and listen to this right here.
John, thanks for taking the time out to join us on this first podcast, and I'm looking forward to hosting this with you as we go along in time this year. Thanks for being with us.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me.
Well, before we jump into the meat and potatoes of episode number 1, I'd love for the folks listening to the show to get to know you a little bit better, but also to get to know our mission for this podcast. Tell me a little bit about why you wanted to start a podcast, why on the topic of finances and retirement planning. What are we hoping to accomplish by hosting this show?
Yeah, I chose to do the podcast because I am a firm believer in educating today's pre-retirees and retirees. I believe the more information you have, the more success you will have, and the more determined you'll be to make a plan that empowers you.
That was the podcast and first episode with our great producer, Walter Storholt, who was my co-host at the time. And then, as things evolve, and we'll talk about evolution in the summer of 2021, Tommy and I were doing some camping on the beach and had the conversation, and then this came about.
You were telling me about your podcast, and I had mentioned how I had done one in the past, and I really wanted to get back into it. And then we just kind of figured that, hey, two heads are better than one here, and we could do this and help people from, like Walt said from the beginning, from coast to coast, and maybe give each other and each of our fan bases maybe a little bit different perspective based on where we are and where we're coming from.
And that was a couple years ago, and that was episode 51 that we had joined forces, Tommy, and it's been a ride. I didn't really think we would get the traction and all the guests we have been, bud.
Yeah, and I think we've barely just scratched the surface on things that we can talk about too. I know you and we just saw each other over the weekend, and there are still a lot of topics that relate to retirement and just personal well-being, family well-being, so on and so forth. Easily we got easily another 50 topics that we could utilize.
Yeah, and and I'm very thankful for what you've brought to this. Look, over the course of our time together, we've talked investments, estate and tax planning. We've had economic outlooks, IRA and NUA planning, real estate, pension planning, Medicare, hospice, skilled nursing, elder abuse, cybersecurity, dealing with the transition into retirement life, dealing with grief and loss in your retirement life, investing in your health, the importance of having physically fit joints and muscles, Social Security, 401ks. And the guests we've had on, Josh Yeager, Joe Casey, Brookstone's beloved Matt Lovett, Don Graves, and, award-winning news anchor Aaron Kennedy, the chief investment officer of Brookstone Capital, Mark Diorio,
Ed Slott.
America's IRA expert, Tom's good buddy, who he said, Ed Slott, and his right-hand man, Andy Ives. But, Tommy, no one's bigger than today's guest, the three-time returning guest, the man,
The
whether
king himself.
the weather and the man, whether our clients, our listeners realize it or not, has had such a profound impact on Tom and I's lives, our clients' lives, and everything. I mean, in the podcast, our respective YouTube channels. And Tommy, you mentioned that we saw each other this weekend, and it was at a celebration of life for one of the men who has had a huge impact on our life, David Gaylor. And during that time, we both talked about, the handful of people that have impacted our lives, and two of them, Derek Kabbalah and our guest today, the GOAT, the CEO of Brooks and the president, or I don't know, are you still the CEO, Dean? It's the president, the founder, the GOAT of Brookstone Capital Management, Mr. Dean Zayed.
Ladies and gentlemen, get on your feet and put your hands together for the CEO and founder of Brookstone Capital Management. It's Mr. Dean Zayed.
John, that's quite an intro. I'm blushing here. I know you can't see me because it's a podcast, but I'm humbled by the intro, and of course, just thrilled to join the podcast with two of the finest humans that I know. Not just fine advisors, but you both are top 1% advisors in the country. But you're top 1% humans to me. You're all heart. You guys care. You do the right thing all the time. Founder and CEO is the right title, by the way. But wearing that hat, it's really an honor and a pleasure to be here, especially on this milestone of the 100th episode. That's incredible, and I have no doubt you're going to have 200 and 300 and keep going, man. That's the mission, I know, and I have no doubt you'll get there.
Dean, you're like the Rodney Dangerfield of the Johnny Carson show, the number one guest, the guy that's been on more often than any other guest that there is. And that's as a compliment. That's not a...
I love it. I love it. Well, we all know how well we get along personally and professionally, and just a lot of great chemistry. And besides all the fun that we have together, we actually have collaborated on some incredible financial planning that's helped, as you know, thousands of people. I mean, that's at the end of the day, when you really filter through what we do together, it is helping a number of people fight through and get through and enjoy a healthy and prosperous retirement. That's our life's mission as financial advisors. And like you said earlier, Tom, I mean, doing it together, 1, 2, 3 brains, we have a team behind us here at Brookstone, is always better than just being, alone. So that's the beauty of our relationship.
Yeah, and Dean, when I look at the growth of my firm, and I'm sure Tommy, you're the same way. I mean, I try to emulate everything you do. You have taken a firm from zero to what now, over 10 billion, if I'm correct. And you've done it the right way. You've done it in a way with where morals and ethics and relationships have led the way. And a lot of people with your stature, they have a lobotomy. They change. And you, my friend, are still the same old Dean that we could see you at the conference and you give us a hug. Yeah, you ask how the family's been, and it's been going on. Going on 9 years now with Brookstone, and proud to say I'm a lifer. And every year I know Tom will say the same. We get a little bit afraid that you're just going to you've hit the summit, and you say, you know what, I'm going to walk away. And every year you reassure us we're only are we in the second inning now, Dean?
Bottom of the second, John.
Bottom of the second.
We were top of the second for a brief moment. We were bottom of the first for a long time, but I'll take bottom of the second now. There's a long runway for us left.
That bottom of the first goes all the way back to 2000, 2001 too, Dean, right? When I first met you, and I know we've talked about this before, with the John Naylor group. all the way out there in Scottsdale, Arizona.
That's exactly right, Tommy. And it leads to we could have, I mean, we can talk for hours, I know the three of us, but leads to a conversation about, wow, that's 20 plus years ago. My has the world changed? My has the industry changed? Retirement planning, folks, has changed. The definition has changed. Products, strategies. If you're not disrupting in this business and you're not innovating, you're not working with a firm, like a Brookstone, that's always thinking ahead, fast forward, right? That we're forward thinking and trying to stay as innovative as ahead of the industry as possible. You're going to fail. I mean, think about those days 20 plus years ago and how the industry has changed today, which leads to conversations about the Brookstone platform, what we've done on the investment side, new innovative products and strategies that we're going to be launching, right? This is the spirit and the essence of being a 21st century fiduciary based advisor that cannot be complacent. And that's not the three of us. We are not complacent. Brookstone will always do what we think is best and definitely stay ahead of the curve and the changes going on, which are very rapid sometimes. This world is it's moving fast, guys. You know that.
I think back on it, and I don't mean this as a knock on anybody, but the people that we've met throughout the years in this industry who aren't in it any longer because they didn't keep up, like you're saying, Dean, with the times, the changes, the product development, so on and so forth. We could probably 10, 20, 30 people that each of us know that we could name off that just aren't here anymore for those reasons.
Well, I agree, and I joke to my wife a lot. Say, one of these days I'm gonna actually write a book, and I've got all the scars to prove it, and all the war stories, and some of which are what you're alluding to, Tommy, right? All these other folks that were very smart and very successful, but again, lessons learned in business that you can't be complacent, and you do need to do the right thing at all times, especially when you're handling people's monies and finances and retirement, right? So we're in a very difficult job that we've embraced. Huge responsibility, but I know you guys will agree. Great reward for us, great gratification to do what we do and help so many people.
Yeah, for sure.
And as it evolves and as Brookstone has grown to enormous levels and along with it a lot of firms, you guys have really focused on making sure that those firms' legacies really live on too. In the event, God forbid, something happens to one of your advisors, or John, or Tommy, and you guys are really looking out in the long run of not only for the advisors and their families, but the clients.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. It's a very fluid situation where you sort of have an aging advisor force in the country, right? I mean, you do have younger advisors coming into the business, but for the most part, I mean, this is an aging advisor force that these are real issues to deal with as a business owner. What do you do with the practice you've built, succession planning, your own estate planning, and most importantly, all these wonderful clients that we work with that we want to make sure have no interruption whatsoever in the advice that they're getting.
Yeah. So, Dean, a lot's gone on over, since our last talk. And we always like to kick things off in January with Dean because, he's that shot of B12 that gets the year going for everybody. Can you mind just kind of giving us a rundown on what's gone on in the world of Brookstone since we last talked and some of the new innovations over the last year?
Oh, absolutely. I'd love to. And as we just talked about, so we are active in helping advisors who are interested transition to a retirement where we'll actually partner with them and buy into their practice and really build a beautiful succession plan that is seamless to their employees and then, of course, their clients. So we did consummate two large deals last year in which Brookstone was the buyer of these firms. And that's exciting. One is based in the North Carolina area, but with clients all over the country, many of which are in the Napa Valley Bay Area. And then another one is in Greater Atlanta. So that really kind of expands the Brookstone footprint by virtue of these transactions. And so far, so good. Everybody's happy. It's a win-win situation for all parties. That's most important to me, is that everybody involved in a transaction needs to win. Yes, business is tough and negotiations can go, very long and be very frustrating. But at the end of the day, when cooler heads prevail and everybody's reasonable and you don't necessarily get everything you want, if everybody is happy and everybody wins, that's the sign of a good deal to me. And we've been successful at doing that now, with two having closed last year. The big thing, John and Tommy, I mean, I've been a real broken record about structured notes and structured investments that produce a high amount of income. And I know we don't have all the time to get into the granular details of how successful the strategy has been in our platform. But at a higher level, structured products are now one of the fastest growing styles of investment in the country. They've gone from 10 billion a year, just probably 15 years ago, to just last year now about 200 billion of issued structured notes by some of the largest banks in the country. In the United States, that is a fast growing, call it an asset class or a style. The specific types of notes that we've used on the Brookstone platform, with a legitimate 8-year track record, have been these income oriented notes that have averaged somewhere close to 10% of interest a year, with a standard deviation of something around one. I mean, they're extremely consistent and stable, and virtually no real interruption in the steady flow of income and principal that gets returned when these notes get called to mature. And I think you guys know all this, but the track record speaks for itself. It's one of the best in the country, dealing with this really exotic, specific product that we've pioneered at Brookstone, working with these large banks. And to get to my punchline here, we have now officially launched a fund. It is live. It is approved by the SEC. It is approved at Fidelity, one of our large custodians. And we're in the final stretch now of getting it approved at Schwab any day now, before we go really to market. It's going to be a category creator and a category killer, as the first and only mutual fund in the country that invests exclusively in these income oriented structured notes. I hate to sound like this, but I'm going to say it. No RIA in the country knows notes better than Brookstone. No RIA has done more volume in notes than Brookstone. And it's a real value add to a portfolio when you can produce an outsized amount of income with such low volatility. We're going to continue to run that strategy as a separately managed account the way we have in the past, with individual notes being purchased, but now launching what we call the Booster Income Opportunities Fund. BAMIX is the ticker symbol, BAM like Mary, IX like X-ray. Category creator, category killer, sponsored by Brookstone as a sub-advisor, available exclusively to Brookstone advisors for now. We are excited to be absolutely on the cutting edge, guys, pioneering the next evolution of structured notes, and you can now get even more access, democratizing access, if I can say, access to these incredible individual notes and income producing vehicles, but in the chassis now of an easily accessible mutual fund.
We've been waiting since you guys really talked about it at the conference. I mean, this is structured notes have been in part of my practice for about 7 years. And I mean, it's just in the past, it's just been rolling over every year. They've been a very steady and very great return on investment for my clients. And I know, Tommy, you feel the same way.
Yeah, of course. And this is also, I mean, we've been laddering them for our clients, meaning buying them with different maturation dates, right? But this fund alone, Dean, correct me if I'm wrong, by being able to, I guess, stuff in so many different opportunities with structured notes is actually going to bring down that standard deviation or that risk factor, because now we're just not reliant on one, two, three, four different notes.
That's correct, Tommy. I mean, the high level and a lot of benefits to the fund, but that's definitely absolutely one of them. So instead of a client owning 3 to 6 individual notes or bonds, the fund will own probably somewhere north of 30 to 50 plus at all times.
Wow.
We're going to actively buy and source them of the same styles that we've done before, but now we're going to have more notes, greater diversification of time periods that the notes are linked to, because every unique 12-month period gives you a unique experience as an investor, which will reduce that standard deviation, like you said. We're going to be able to have that fund just about fully invested at all times, which eliminates any cash drag that we have now. When a note matures in an account, we've got to wait another month to reinvest those proceeds because it's a monthly ladder. With the fund, that cash drag gets virtually eliminated because we can go and have a brand new note sourced and created by these large banks any given time, literally any hour we wanted to. We also have the ability to be a little bit more tactical about when we can source notes. Days where VIX spikes, like lately, the market's been a little shaky. The higher the VIX is, the more juice or interest we can build into the notes that the banks will then price for us. So it's incredibly exciting to think about eliminating the cash drag, having substantially more notes working for you, more diversification, being able to source notes on days when vol is high and therefore the interest is higher. And then we do that automatic laddering for the investor in the fund by always making sure we're sourcing a new note that's going to have a unique set of characteristics. Again, probably could be more tactical about when we do that to give that client that even more enhanced experience than just owning these 3 to 6 individual notes, which on their own have done phenomenally well, as you guys know. We are going to do even better in the fund.
Yeah, and you mentioned that when that VIX spikes and getting, squeezing more juice out of that lemon. I remember you were actually in town for in San Diego for a past conference about a week before the world shut down in February 2020. And you were giving a presentation to newer advisors on structured notes. And you guys were talking about, with the increased volatility, the, incredible return, the incredible potential return we are going to be able to get on some of these new notes because of that volatility. So to be able to do this on, as you said, a daily basis is unbelievable. I mean, that's great.
So what else do you see on the horizon for us, Dean, either as advisors and as an advisory organization, as the industry in general out there?
I think John referred earlier to education being huge. Let's focus on that for a minute here because I think you guys all know, and Brookstone's DNA is rooted deeply into education and trying to be as sharp as any other firm or sharper on not just every topic but in strategy, but again, staying ahead of the curve. So, Tommy, we're going to focus 2025 on elevating our educational experience for our advisors, both in-person trainings, the PASS series, Positioning Advisors for Success series. We've got a core set of PASS classes for advisors. We've got an advanced set, which includes many outside speakers on many, many topics, from succession planning to advanced planning, tax planning, estate planning, incredible number of topics introduced through the PASS Advanced this year. To pivot now on education of our clients, we have our own in-house educational and retirement program. We call that RWA, the Retirement Wealth Academy. We are enhancing RWA. We are absolutely upgrading all of the courses that you phenomenal advisors can use to educate and train both existing clients and new prospective clients. So a total upgrade to the RWA classes, the PowerPoints, the material. That's amazing in itself. But then you've got that PASS series. And then the third thing I'll add is going to be more of an ongoing monthly reach out via webinars and Zooms and team meetings on specific, very relevant, timely topics that we want to make sure that our advisors are in front of for their clients on a monthly basis.
Sounds like we're going to have an action-packed 2025.
It never stops, my friends. Never stops, and we don't want it to stop. We can't.
Right.
We're going to
Yeah,
keep going.
and what I love about where RWA is going is, Dean, you guys are an investment firm. If you guys, at the end of the day, if you guys just wanted to be that same old RIA, you guys could stop at investments. But, RWA is not only rolling out, can improve in their holistic retirement courses, but you guys are rolling out, tax planning and estate planning and really trying to make sure that your advisors provide the ultimate value to the end, to their clients.
Absolutely. I mean, all of us have been doing this a long, long time, especially Tommy. He's been doing this since Roosevelt was president, right, man?
I didn't think you were
Very
going to
old.
attack me.
Yeah, very old.
Very old. But again, I mentioned earlier, the definition of retirement has changed and evolved, and our clients have changed, generations change, mindsets, expectations. I mean, we're pseudo psychologists as well as advisors, right? And again, it's a package you've got to deliver because retirement is probably as important today. You've got 77 million boomers and the next generation coming. This is front and center with America. We know, we've been talking about it. And here we are. We are in the middle of this incredible American shift in generations and wealth transfer with all these moving parts, like you mentioned, John, tax planning, estate planning, retirement planning. It's exciting. We love it, but you've got to stay sharp and relevant because it will escape you if you're an advisor that's using 20th century tactics today. It's just not going to work.
Well, and I mean, for Brookstone, Dean, you guys have grown so big, and again, it's been a lot of organic, and you guys have also, made some acquisitions of your own with other RIAs. Yeah, how big, what's your, if you got, Tommy talked about Johnny Carson earlier, if you got your Karnak out, your hat out, what's your thoughts on Brookstone, over the next 1 to 5 years, if you could tell us that?
Well, I mean, look, I'll tell you exactly how I feel. I mean, first of all, we crossed over 11 billion of assets.
Wow.
We started last year, the beginning of last year, in the 8+ billion. So it was obviously a very growthy year for us. We've been a growthy firm since day one. Some years better than others, but of course, thrilled about that growth. I would answer the question this way. I just turned 52 in November. I feel like I'm 32. I love what I do. I love working with advisors just like you. And I do believe that Brookstone is a special company doing special things. And I think in a special industry, it's the golden age of financial services, gents. You know that the next 20 years, I think it's the golden age. So, I mean, there's certain things we can't control, but to the extent that I can control my destiny, I am not going anywhere. I think we want to grow. It's not about getting to a number per se. It's about the resources that we can continue to build and deliver. So yes, the bigger firm we are, the more resources we have. It's about helping more advisors, helping more clients. I have absolutely no intention of exiting this industry or this business. It's the golden age, and I want to be front and center and enjoy the ride because I just love what we are doing at Brookstone. I love doing it with guys like you. I wouldn't change one thing about it.
You said something that probably a lot of people will miss, and it was very quick that you said it, but it's very important. If you're talking to CEOs and leaders of other brokerage houses and investment firms and things like that, they're always going to talk about their brokers. Always. This is what we're doing for the broker. This is what but you say, and the client. And I think that just those two words create a canyon of difference between the people at Brookstone and the people at other brokerage places or RIAs. Those two words makes the world of difference. And it's a big reason why people like John and I are here. and why people like John and I have the success that we have because of that. And I mean that truthfully.
No, I know you do. That's great, man. I mean, look, you do the right thing consistently. Some people, there's some bad actors in our business, let's be honest. And
Yeah.
if you try to do something and make more money short term, it's going to catch up with you. I've told advisors, do the right thing. You're going to get paid. We're all going to get paid a reasonable amount. If you're just consistent and you grow the business the way we've all done it together, you'll be rewarded, right? Don't be stupid or greedy or short-sighted. I think that's the essence of what we do together. Brookstone and your practices are phenomenal. Again, top 1%. So it speaks for itself.
And the other thing that I've absolutely always appreciated about you, Dean, you've never worried about the competition. It's never been tear down your competition, show the clients how incompetent their advisors are and how much better you are. You from day one have said, listen, who cares about the competition? Just be better. Be a better version of yourself every day for your clients. Always improve. And if you're the best advisor out there and you're putting in the work and you're putting in the work to do the best for them, good things are going to happen to your practice. And that has been a foundation principle that I've always taken to heart every day. Every day, it's, how am I going to be better tomorrow than I was today? And, that's why I think Brookstone has, outperformed all the other RIAs that we looked at years ago.
That makes sense, John. I appreciate that. And yeah, there's a lot of truth to that. I think it's so refreshing because we are kind of in a salesy business. Let's be honest. At the end of the day, everyone's a salesman or saleswoman in some format. It's so refreshing to me that we could lead with education and being positive and not with negativity, cutting down the competition, trying to do all that wedging stuff. And right, that our approach is taking the high road, and you lead with your heart and your education, your brain, and your absolute desire to help that client. That's refreshing. It's not refreshing to me to be that negative advisor trying to cut down the competition and create those wedges that a lot of the sales schools might teach you. But to me, negativity has no place in what we do with our clients.
It also cultivates the atmosphere of, take our show, for example, right? John and I live 3,000 miles away from each other, but we work together, and hundreds and hundreds of people that are our advisors at Brookstones have developed personal relationships with each other. And we've had Mauro, a CPA, on here before, who's a Brookstone advisor. We've had other advisors on here because we can't service everybody, right? There's 330 million people in the United States, and I can't have all of them as clients. But what I can have is a really close core group of people that I can rely on that have expertise in different areas, and we're not afraid to share best practice with each other. And that's something that Brookstone has, I think, really fostered for us as well, which is probably a benefit that you don't find at other brokerage houses where they're always pitting one guy or gal against another.
Tommy, and that's a great point because there are so many people, and it's the culture you've built, Dean, of let's help out each other. And how many great planning ideas have been thought of at a conference or a dinner with your colleagues where a lot of people don't get it, that when we go to these conferences and we're learning throughout the day, but then it's during the happy hour, during dinner or lunch, that we are talking to each other about our clients and the ideas to improve our clients' lives. And it's, no one's talking about, oh, well, hey, I gave you that idea, revenue share with me. It's, hey, no, you do this. I had done this for my client. I think this is going to bring great value to you and your clients, just to help out and help, the Brookstone family, just have that sphere of influence of making our lives and our clients' lives better.
Well, John, I'll say it maybe a different way, but yes, I think whiskey and vodka get a lot of credit for pouring all of our creative juices together. There's a tremendous amount of collaboration that happens, like you're saying, and it's true, both in the formal meetings and outside, and that's where a lot of the action is. It's relationships, it's collaboration, and it's the ideas that get circulated. Wow, it's just incredible to see that. And not necessarily at times when you think it's going to happen, right? It's at all times. We're just all doing this together. We're all humans, and nothing better than creative juices that we can share together.
Yeah.
And there are some creative minds in that group, that's for sure.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Well, Dean, the time flies as it always does when we get a chance to talk with you. And I want to thank you for taking time out of your very busy schedule to come on the show. And I look forward to seeing you in a couple months in March at Nashville. And I'm excited about what the future has, not only for this podcast, but especially for our clients and, our lives and our relationships with Brookstone and the extended family.
Well, I concur, and nothing but love and respect for you two fine gentlemen. And yes, I think we'll see each other at least a few times, if not more, this year, and always looking forward to it.
Thanks.
Well, folks, that wraps it up for another episode of the Retire Happy podcast. We hope you enjoyed the 100th episode. And Tommy, here's, as Dean said, here's to another 100 or 200 episodes. And we are excited for what 2025 and beyond is going to bring you, the listener, and especially our clients. Until our next show, folks, Happy New Year and retire happy. Take care.
It's easy to get in touch with John and Thomas. If you're more on the West Coast, give John a call at 858-758-9889. That's 858-758-9889. Or go online to GoSecurus.com. That's GoSecurus.com. If you're more of an East Coaster, then call Thomas, 973-394-0623. That's 973-394-0623. And online at internationalfinancial.com. That's internationalfinancial.com. And you can, of course, always just check the description of today's show for all that contact information. Don't forget to subscribe and follow the podcast on your favorite apps, and we'll see you next time on the Retire Happy Podcast.
Investment advisory services offered through Brookstone Capital Management, LLC, BCM, a registered investment advisor. BCM, Securus Financial, and International Financial Advisory Group are independent of each other. Insurance products and services are not offered through BCM, but are offered and sold through individually licensed and appointed agents. The opinions expressed by John Amarino, Thomas O'Connell, and guests on this show are their own, and are based upon information considered reliable, although it should not be relied upon as such. Any statements or opinions are subject to change without notice. Investments involve risk, and unless otherwise stated, are not guaranteed. Past performance cannot be used as an indicator to determine future results. Any strategies mentioned may not be suitable for everyone. Information expressed does not take into account your specific situation or objectives, and is not intended as recommendations appropriate for you. Before acting on any information mentioned, please consult with a qualified tax or investment advisor to determine if it is suitable for your specific situation. This program is designed to provide accurate and authoritative information with regard to the subjects covered. Registered investment advisors and investment advisor representatives act as fiduciaries for all of our investment management clients. We have an obligation to act in the best interest of our clients and to make full disclosure of any conflicts of interest. Please refer to our firm brochure, the ADV 2A Item 4, for additional information.